What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video here today. I've got something really exciting for you this time around. It's something that I've said I was going to play for a long time now, and I'm finally getting around to it. I have finals this week, I got finals next week, but it doesn't matter. I'm here playing for you guys, playing this sweet deck that we're about to look at. But yeah, let's jump right into it because there's a lot to talk about for this. I want to first say that I did not design this deck in the slightest. This was designed by a few people over in the Blue-White X community on Facebook, I believe led by Francesco Amati. I would say he's probably the lead designer on this, but I think he has a few people helping him out. So with that said, I do not know the intricacies of this deck very well. I have not played it very much, but I do want to try it out. So it's going to be kind of a learning process for both you and I together to kind of see how the deck runs. But overall, I just want to say I'm not an expert. I don't necessarily know all the optimal lines, all the little itty-bitty tricks or sideboarding and things like that. So hopefully you can watch this not necessarily for the tightest play, but just to see how the deck overall runs. With that said, let's jump right into it. So the deck is basically it's called UWish Control, which is kind of Bant control, but not really. So the green is kind of a splash. So it's really Blue-White Control's core with a slight green splash for a card called Glittering Wish. So Glittering Wish, it's 1 white, 1 green. You may choose a multicolored card you own from outside the game, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. Exile Glittering Wish, excuse me. When you get to choose a card from outside of the game, what that really refers to, I believe it refers to exiled cards as well. I might be wrong there, but it also refers to your sideboard. What that means is you can pick out a card from your sideboard and tutor it into your hand. You do have to reveal it, I believe. Yep, reveal that card, put it into your hand. What that allows you to do is play a very silver bullet type game where you have this kind of tutor in your deck, in your game 1. And even game 2 and 3, obviously, but game 1, you have this tutor that can find these hate pieces for a lot of very linear or aggressive decks out there, which is what Glittering Wish is really useful for. It's also great at closing the lid, right? So sometimes you just get into the late game and you just want to find a threat. What you can do is get let's go over our options. So the reason I have the sideboard out here like this is because the sideboard is almost an extension of the deck. It kind of lets you play the 75. Not quite 75, but a nearly 70 card deck, which is very powerful. While you're still obviously still 60, the probabilities are all relatively the same, but now you just have more access to see more cards in each game. So let's talk about some of the really cool things you can get with Glittering Wish. So some of the best cards, we'll go over some of the fair matchups. Sigarda is great in the fair matchup. She's a flying hexproof creature, and your opponent can't cause you to sacrifice her. So Liliana matchups, Sigarda just absolutely, I imagine, comes down and takes over the board. You have Dragonlord Dramoka that can't be countered, has flying and lifelink, and your opponent can't cast spells during your turn, which is really nice. If you can survive that long to get it down against burn, obviously it's pretty lights out there, but it's also just great in most fair matchups. Pretty nice against blue decks that aren't packing Path to Exile. They might have a really hard time dealing with Dragonlord Dramoka. Then we have Kitchen Finks. Again, this is probably your go-to for the burn matchup. I imagine you probably side 1 in and leave 1 in here, and maybe trim on Glittering Wishes because you don't necessarily want to tutor against burn on turn 2. That's kind of not impacting the board very much, but I don't know, actually. Maybe we'll get to see that interaction. I don't know. Haven't decided quite yet, obviously. I am not an expert here, but Kitchen Finks can be tutored up against more aggressive strategy and mid-range matchups. You have Wheel of Sun and Moon, which is probably the first really interesting card that you can tutor up here. If a card will be put into enchanted player's graveyard from anywhere, instead that card is revealed and put on the bottom of that player's library. So basically you do this against graveyard-based decks. Essentially they can never get a graveyard going. Against Dredge, against Grishelbrand, against, I guess even Grixis Shadow, it could be pretty useful. And the thing is it enchants target player, so you don't, it doesn't mess up your Search for Escant, it doesn't mess up your Snapcaster Mages, and things like that. We have a Sundering Growth here because, again, it's multicolored, and it allows us to destroy target artifacts or enchantments. Sometimes, game 1, some really weird, wacky decks can get us out of nowhere. This lets us interact with them when we normally would not be able to interact with, artifacts or enchantments game 1. An extra verdict because you have 2 in the deck, but then you also have, so you kind of have 5 verdicts, right? The only time it's really worse is if you need to verdict on turn 4 and you draw the Glittering Wish. But if you can set up that Glittering Wish on turn 2 or turn 3 into a turn 4 verdict, it can be really useful. You have Geist of St. Trapped here for maybe more uninteractive decks you need to get a clock online as fast as possible, and Geist does that very well. And then you have Detention Sphere. You get to exile target non-land permanent, kind of like a catch-all. Again, Glittering Wish means they see it coming, but when you need to deal with a permanent, you need to deal with a permanent. So at least we have that option in the sideboard for Glittering Wish. And then the rest of the sideboard here, these last, 6 cards, are just all-around useful cards that blue-white has access to. So Celestial Purge for red-black decks. This is things like Liliana, Death Shadows, Blood Moons, all these troublesome cards that are normally very difficult to deal with. Rest in Peace, because it's just so powerful. Sometimes you just need that powerful hate card that you can maybe see in your game 2s and 3s. So running 1 copy means you don't see it that often. But Glittering Wish does give you access to things like Wheel of Sun and Moon. 1 Stony Silence, because generally we have a pretty good matchup against artifact decks. And when I say artifact decks, usually like Affinity. We should ideally have a decent matchup there. The only issue, of course, is if you run into like the more combo-oriented artifact decks. So KC I combo can be pretty difficult to deal with without a Stony Silence. Also, Lantern Control is kind of the card where Stony Silence really shines in. And obviously, Sundering Growth doesn't quite do it necessarily, even though it can be flashback with Snapcaster Mage and the like. And of course, let's move on. We have 1 Ceremonious Rejection because Eldrazi decks, Tron decks are out there, and sometimes just getting them off tilted with 1 counterspell, 1 turn, then flash it back could be enough to seal the deal on the game. But those are generally going to be pretty difficult matchups, especially because we're running fewer Field of Ruins, I imagine. But then we also have Disdainful Stroke and Negate. These are great counterspells for Valakut, Tron, combo decks, Storm even. So we have a lot of good tools here available for us to attack these different decks, even without Glittering Wish. So obviously we'll see these cards sided in most often. Whether or not these cards come in during game 2 or 3 when we have Glittering Wish, I'm not actually quite sure. I think that's something that takes a lot of practice and gameplay to understand what the right numbers are. So I'll do my best to get the right numbers, but just so you know, the way that I'll be sideboarding may not necessarily be optimal, but we will do our best with what we're dealt with. So with that said, I am, like I said, not only am I far from an expert with this deck, I am limited on time. School is bearing down on me, so we're not going to do a full league. Instead, we're going to do 3 matches in the comp lobbies. So hopefully we'll run into more or less competitive decks, and we'll see how this deck fares against them. So hopefully you enjoyed that rundown. I mean, we could talk about the main deck, obviously what's not the Glittering Wish here. It's mostly blue-white control core. We have Spreading Seas, we have Snapcaster, we have Paths, Serum Visions. I mean, the counter spells and the Vendilion Clicks, I would say, are kind of, and the Rune Halos are the stuff that's less stock. Rune Halo is great against the more linear decks like Valakut. You can even name different creatures and things like that. And then, of course, 2 Vendilion Click gives you a clock against combo in game 1. Really useful sometimes. But in general, this list is very similar to stock blue-white control, aside from that Glittering Wish and a few card choices here and there. And you can definitely catch one of my blue-white control videos that I've done in the past, and you can see how the normal blue-white control runs, I guess, without the Glittering Wish engine. So, thanks so much for watching that deck breakdown, and stay tuned for the first match here with UWish control. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to the first match here with UWish control. Looks like we won the die roll, and yeah, let's play first. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I would say that's a keeper. Obviously, this is just a solid blue-white control hand. So I think that's a keep. Probably run out this Glacial Fortress on turn 1. And we'll see what our opponent does here, what they're on. So both kept 7. So let's see Noble Hierarch. Interesting. So the question is, do I hit the Spreading Seas on the forest? I think I do. Obviously, no access to green here is a bit unfortunate. Also, no access to double white. So I think we definitely need to cantrip here. Try to hit some stuff. So this could be Abzan Company from our opponent's side of the board here. Ugh, not looking good so far. We can Field of Ruin a duel to get our double white online. The issue is, of course, if we don't hit that turn 4 verdict against something like Abzan Company, we could be in real trouble. Also, if our opponent doesn't play a non-basic, we could also kind of be in a bit of trouble. So we don't have basic forest in the deck, which means that we can't Field of Ruin for a forest. Not that we would Glittering Wish for anything at this stage in the game. We kind of have a pretty solid hand. So basic is pretty bad for us to see. If our opponent goes Devoted Druid here, Knight of the Reliquary. Detention Sphere, interesting. So we could D-Sphere the Knight of the Reliquary. Alternatively, we could hit the Noble Hierarch. I think I'd rather hit the Knight of the Reliquary. This could be green-white Value Town. Also a pretty good deck. But again, I don't want them to start netting so much value. So maybe cutting them off green was useful here. Ghost Quarter. Interesting. Do they play Arbiters? I don't think so. They do have Company. Company is scary. Voice of Resurgence, sure. Courser of Crufix. Alright. And they have another Company coming off the top there. Alright, so land, Greenland. Actually really useful. The question is, do we verdict right now? I think we do. They'll get to leave behind a voice token. I don't mind too much. Let's just cut them off of their 4th mana, cut them off of green potentially. And then we're set to probably take over the game pretty soon. These 2 Gideons can come down, start fogging the board, removing threats. Alright, so they have another green source and a white source. Sure. Souza, oof. Noble Hierarch on the top. Alright, so no more engines. What I mean by engines, they don't have anything to really... Ooh, Path to Exile. Alright, we have a couple options here. I kind of want a Glittering Wish for a verdict. At the same time, I could get them to overextend a little bit. So if I go Gideon, tick up on the Elemental, they can play a Noble Hierarch. I think I'm just going to Gideon. So our opponent has already burned through 2 collected companies, so their reach in the late game is definitely alright. So no, there's like no tireless tracker. Like that's the one thing I'm a little scared of, like tireless tracker. Here they could play. Alright, looks like they're fetching, maybe to dig for more lands. Right, Path to Exile, I don't mind them having. I imagine Hierarch is coming down. That'll give one of these things the ability to attack for 3 here. Ramnak Excavator. Oof. Ooh, are we about to get Ghost Quartered? Oh boy. Alright, no Ghost Quarter shenanigans just yet. But that is a lot of lands. And that is a little bit scary. Yep. That's gas. That is gas. Alright. Verdict or bust. Oh wow, that actually just kills Gideon, huh? That's kind of scary. So they're ghost quartering right now. I probably want to do something that... Oh wow, that's pretty rough actually. So if we path to exile the Ramnap Excavator, yeah, that's not the end of the world if we Ramnap, because then they can't ghost quarter us to death, and at least they're drawing a land here. Yes. Let's probably get a plains. Here I think we want to cut them off. Horizon Canopy so they don't get to draw off of it. And that's, of course, another Horizon Canopy. We're definitely going to be taking quite a bit of damage. If we can draw a fetch land, we could actually go... Ooh, Eternal Witness is really strong here. If we draw a fetch land, we could get a green source. Yep. Oh, man. We could get a green source and immediately Verdict. Collected Company is, of course, pretty good. Opponent main phasing it, which I guess is good for us. Yeah, so if we can hit Verdict, yes. Let's, oh wow. Oh, right, they don't, oh, do they have a Azusa? Oh, yeah, they do have a Azusa. Yeah, get hit for 10 here, which is pretty nuts. Playing around something like Blessed Alliance, which makes a lot of sense. Not quite Verdict. If that was a Verdict, we would probably be in an okay spot here. But as it stands, we're running out of white sources. So the question is here, do we want to go Gideon downtick on the Elemental? Thing is, we still get ghost quartered out of the game. If we... Oh, we have to +2, or else they just kill us. The question is, would they have played around Settle the Wreckage? They might not have. Yeah, they probably would have. Oof. Yep, Azusa. So maybe we should have hit the Azusa. And now we're just, yeah. This is like triple wasteland each turn. I think we're pretty dead here. Courser. Okay. We survive one turn. I don't think we have any outs at this point. All right. We are indeed dead. So let's take it to sideboarding here. probably want. Do we want the second attention sphere in the main? I don't think if we're glittering for anything, we're probably glittering for verdict. So I don't necessarily like that. It's kind of tough here. Spell Snare. They do have Voice of Resurgence. That is a good card to hit. Ruin Halo is probably a bit weak here. They do have just such a diversity of threats. Negate hits Coco. That's about it. So we can think about cutting that. Logic Knot is okay because it hits both creatures and Coco. Maybe Negate's just too narrow. Argument for Rest in Peace. I actually do like Rest in Peace a lot here. I don't think this is a search matchup considering they have so many Ghost Quarters. I like bringing in the D-Sphere, leaving one. I mean, with so many Ghost Quarters, I mean, they just hit our green source and we just have to... So maybe we can cut one of those and then bring in like a big beefy threat, like Dramoka maybe? Then what are we glittering for? Sigarda. I mean, Sigarda's fine. They're probably keeping in paths, so... Man, this is tough. Maybe we just want to keep in Negate and bring in a Kitchen Finks. Yeah. Alright. I'm going to try to keep the Wish engine and see how it goes. And also bring in a Kitchen Finks and see how that goes. Alternatively, we could still get Wheel of Sun and Moon here. Yeah, that's a keep. A lot of basics in our opener is kind of not great. Wow, our opponent... Ooh, mulling to 4. Hopefully they kept a good 4 there. We'll start with Serum Visions. We know what we're looking for. I'm actually going to keep both of these on top. Cutting them off of green sources is a very good way to beat an opponent that's stuck on 4. Well, that's one way to feel bad about that. I'm going to lead on because I don't want to necessarily fetch away my Flooded Strand. Alright. Opponent does not fetch. There's a land. So Blue Splash for Unified Will, maybe? Voice of Resurgence, sure. Here we want to cut them off of green. Do we want to play around Aven Mind Sensor? I think we do. Go ahead and fetch up a Temple Garden here. So our opponent mulligan to 4. Hopefully we can win this game. No green mana for our opponent. That's good for us. We can... No double white is kind of rough, but I think we want to hope to... Unified Will. Okay. That is kind of what I expected from that Blue Splash, like I said before. Alright, that's another green source. Probably going to keep it up for Collected Company here. V-Click. Not a card I can cast on my opponent's turn. I mean, technically I could. Wow. We kind of want to find lands. It's kind of a bit of a pickle here. Bit of a bind. I mean, the 2/2 bear can just get there, right? So if we, I wouldn't mind drawing a Path to Exile because we could hit Path on Voice and then Spreading Seas their source there. Instead, what we can do is just main phase this click, see what our opponent is working with. Even mind sensor, sure. So it's good to know. Kind of maybe I should have played the fetch so I could do it in response. I'm gonna let them keep both of those. Yeah, I probably should have played that flooded strand before playing the click. Yeah, that was a misplay. If they attack with both, I'm probably blocking the mind sensor. If they attack with one, yeah, I'm not blocking it. Yeah, that's really gonna cost me, I think. Here, let's go ahead and hit the plains. Path to Exile. That's not bad at all. Shoot, that's annoying. Because then that gives them green mana. Do I want to give them green mana next turn? I don't think so. I think I want to wait a turn before I give them green mana. Ghost Quarter. That's rough. Now I feel like an idiot. I'm going to trade here. Alternatively, they could Ghost Quarter themselves at this point. Here they could Ghost Quarter us. Yes. Nope. That's rough. Yeah, so I got kind of punished for not doing it last turn. And now they get their green mana online. Yep. Don't necessarily want to fetch yet. Colonnade's not bad. I want to fetch now to play around weird stuff, and I need to get a white source here, unfortunately. So Glittering Wish is offline right now. This green splash is definitely not free. So we know about Courser of Kruphix in our opponent's hand, and they could have drawn into more good things at this point. Here I kind of just like leaving up Cryptic Command. If they don't do anything, we can always just end step Cryptic Command. Of course, if they have Collected Company, we would get a little bit punished there. Here I'm just going to take the 3. Go down to 4, which is a bit of a rough life total. Another green source. Alright, so they're not going for it, so I'm just going to go ahead. They're probably going to Collected Company in response. They don't. That's great for us, actually. No Cryptic Command here. Is there an argument for getting Jace online? I don't think so. I think Jace is a bit of a... If we take our Cryptic Command shield down and they end step a bunch of creatures into play, we could very easily be dead. Temple Garden. I think I'm countering a Courser of Kruphix. Souza. Am I countering an Azusa? A Souza. In combination with Courser, that can get pretty out of hand. So I think I'd rather just counter the Courser. Interesting. So they're not going for the Courser play. Here we could Yeah, that's fine. Do we want to do anything with this cryptic? We could balance like a spreading seas, draw a card, keep cutting them off, but I think... Yeah, it's awkward because I do need to tap out next turn, so maybe I should have countered that Asusa. Kitchen Finks, if we draw another white source here, is not a bad draw. We did not, though. Okay. Probably don't want the other island. I do want the other plains. Let's keep cutting them off green a little bit here. We draw our plains. Play a Kitchen Finks. Go up to 5 life. Now our opponent is sitting on 1 green source. Bojuka, Bog. Okay. Not really running off of our graveyard right now, so not too big of a deal. There's a Noble Hierarch. If they attack, we will absolutely trade. Now there's an argument for... Maybe we should have kept that island on top so we could have gone... Ooh, that's not bad. I really want to just desphere the Noble Hierarch. In fact, I think we can even get in with this Kitchen Finks and start presenting a clock. Because now we have a Gideon. Opponent has no open green right now. I guess that would have been a little bad if our opponent had another Unified Will or a Negate or something like that. I could have fetched on my turn. Get that breeding pool. There's a Ghost Quarter. So I guess that would have just opened us up to Ghost Quarter. Interesting. As it stands, if they Ghost Quarter me, it means they're not Ghost Quartering themselves. And I'm kind of okay with that. Settle the Wreckage, huh? Settle the Wreckage makes me really comfortable to just bash in. Is there any way that I die if I just bash in? I think bashing in is a little greedy. I think I do want to insulate myself from a potential yeah, I mean, the alternative, like, I do want to keep up Settle here. So let's go ahead and Glittering Wish. Yes. What do we want to get? We could get another Kitchen Finks. Could also get Dragon Lord Dramoka. I kind of like the idea of Kitchen Finks here. Brings us, but I think Verdict is just the safer line here. Especially if our opponent has a Collected Company in hand right now. Like I said, interesting that they're not Ghost Quartering themselves. I do think this deck plays more than one basic forest. Again, I wanted to get that... Alright, so now they're getting their second basic here. Which makes a lot of sense. Eternal Witness. Okay. I can see that. Get back a land. Maybe even a Ghost Quarter. Voice of Resurgence. Sure. So we have a potential line here that we could take right now. Negate. Okay. We could verdict right now. Yeah, voice is a really weird. I guess they can play voice off the. Yeah, I like just going verdict here, bashing in with Gideon. They could have a path to exile. I will negate it though, and because they don't have green open, I'm pretty comfortable just bashing in there. And then next turn we can even rev up Colonnade because they don't have Ghost Quarter and they have to block my Gideon. So I think we're in a pretty good spot unless they can get a flying blocker. There's a Misty. And that's a voice. Alright, they're cracking the fetch. Do they have Corsair Krufix? Sure, that just means they're dead to Colonnade, I believe. Unless they have Dismember, but again, we have that negate. So 1, 2... We can't quite negate and attack. Logic Knot doesn't change much. So, attacking with Kitchen Finks doesn't do much. Attacking with Gideon doesn't do much either because they'll just block. So I think we just rev up Colonnade here. Yeah. Alright. That was a rough game, even when our opponent mulled to 4. That is such a tricky game, huh? So I do like Kitchen Finks. Maybe we need another one. Dramoka seems pretty nuts. Hard to imagine that they keep in that many Path to Exiles. I don't like negate that much. Maybe we should just go full mid-range here. Yep. Cross your fingers. Alright, no green, but I'm gonna keep it because of Rest in Peace. Okay, looks like our opponent's got a good start here. Still no green, obviously, but it's nice that we have a non-fetch start here to play around potential even Mind Sensors. Blue could also indicate Spell Queller. I don't think they're on Queller, though. Click is not a bad draw. Just go ahead and get Rest in Peace and play. So we know they have a voice in hand. Got value off of their Corsair, which is pretty nice for them. Sure. Then they bash in with Corsair. Yep. Interesting. So we could just fetch up a green source here and get Verdict from the sideboard. Yeah, I kind of like that. It means we're taking a bit of damage. It also means they can't overextend. Do we get Temple Garden or Breeding Pool? Let's go ahead and get a Breeding Pool. Whoops. Alright, so we wish for Verdict. Again, just stem the bleeding until maybe we can stabilize with Gideon plus Click. Alright, they don't get a land value, which is good. They bash in for quite a bit here. We could like make them overextend by like clicking. How good is that? I kind of like that. Because if they go like Collected Company here, that would be kind of a pain. Even Mind Sensor, sure. Whew, that is a good hand. I guess not really. I'll take their Tireless Tracker just because that's like the best card. Let's snip this hand here. Let's get the Noble Hierarch too because that's going to be in their hand. And we'll get rid of the Tireless Tracker because it's obviously the best card in our opponent's hand right now. Oh, that's not what we wanted to see. It's absolutely not what we wanted to see off the top of our opponent's deck here. Oh man, that's rough. They can't, yeah, they can't, they know about Verdict, so they're not, no way they're going to walk into that. If our plan is to Verdict, maybe we should just block here. I think our plan is Verdict. Just protect our life total. Yeah, I think we can actually beat a Collected Company as long as it's not too good. So we know our opponent's hand completely, right? Yeah, we know everything in our opponent's hand. So they're going to float a green here. Makes a lot of sense. They're going to Collected Company now. Sure. Hopefully they get some bad cards. I don't want them to have a Ghost Quarter as it hits my green. Does ramping them up to 4 mana do anything? I guess I can do it on their upkeep. Right? We know the full contents of their hand. Scooz, Ramanap, Eternal Witness, Hierarch. Yeah, so there's no reason not to upkeep this. Again, I don't want them to draw a Ghost Quarter. I want access to my green Glittering Wish here. And they drew Ghost Quarter anyways. Alright. Scooz it is. Noble Hierarch. That's pretty good. Next turn we can go Gideon Downtick on it. Stem the bleeding a little bit because we still have full knowledge on their hand, right? We know they have Ramanap plus Ewit. The greedy person in me wants to Serum Visions into a land. I know that's probably not happening. Alright, so far, I think we can stabilize. If we get some good draws here, we can stabilize. That's an Excavator. I wonder where Scavenging Ooze is going to go. To my face. Interesting. That just means I'm going to plus up with Gideon next turn. Verdict is a great draw. Wow. Guess. So, worst case scenario here is. So I think that's why I want to Verdict first. So they add a green. Sure. So worst case scenario here would be Aven Mind Sensor into another Noble Hierarch, hit us for 3 exactly. So we know one unknown. So if Aven Mind Sensor is one of those cards, I'm gonna just play around it one turn. I guess undo. Let's see what our opponent does here. Alright, no Aven Mind Sensor, so I guess I missed out on 6 damage. So here we can Serum Visions. I like all of these cards. I like... we probably want a Verdict before we Vendilion Click. Maybe? Here they could Ghost Quarter us. They choose not to, which is good. Being at 3 life here is definitely a bit scary. Noble Hierarch, yes, that is scary. So I think again we have to plus with Gideon. Probably want to hit a green source here more than anything. See if our opponent wants to deny me a draw of some sort. Maybe they can Ghost Quarter their own land. Okay, they're adding floating a white. We can tick up here. The question is, do we want to draw step click? I think so. Just want to check our clock here. We are down to 7 minutes. Souza, Tireless Tracker, Witness. I think we take the Tracker here. It's definitely the most threatening. So let's get a new one here. Question is, like, can I answer Tracker? I think I can answer Tracker. But I'd rather not. I think Random Card is worse than Tracker. Yeah, they have to attack into Gideon here. Yeah, which means we can eat the Hierarch. So they probably should have tapped the Hierarch. I guess that would be a trade. I don't think I want to trade. I think I'll just let Gideon go down. Path to Exile makes me feel pretty good that I can just attack for 3. We do want to get a clock going here. I don't think we die to a Collected Company necessarily. What we can do here is Glittering Wish for a Kitchen Finks. I think I still left one in the sideboard. I did. Alright, we're up to 5 life and we have a Path to Exile, so I think even a Collected Company doesn't get us. Really hope my opponent doesn't have Collected Company here, because that would be really unfortunate. They could pay costs. That's interesting. So they did have a spell they could play, maybe like a Path to Exile. Alright, now we have double Path to Exile. We are giving our opponent a lot of turns here, so maybe we just need to start bashing in. With double Path to Exile, I think bashing in is a pretty fine plan. If they want to go Path to Exile on my Gideon, that is fine. I guess we could attack with just these two. And then keep back Kitchen Finks to potentially block. How good is that? Man, I like that. Alright. So we get punished by the path to exile. Let's get another plains here. Alright, Gideon is down. Our opponent is probably going to have to keep up Ghost Quarter for a really long time here for Colonnade. And they just concede. Yeah, it's going to be really hard for them to come back from this. And we have 2 threats on board. So thanks for watching. We just were able to beat up Green-White Value Town in some pretty close games. Yeah, so stay tuned for the next match here with UWish Control. I'll see you guys soon.